Again, I do relationship coaching, and my job as a relationship coach is to help couples save their relationship from termination or from separation. And I enjoy it so much. I'm humbled by the experience that they let me in and to let me help them with um, the concerns that they have. The big thing that I tell them is that they're the experts for themselves, and I'm like a facilitator, a guide. I help get them there. Um, I'm in my living room, and sometimes I record here or in my office, but my daughter is in there, and she is, I can kind of hear her, and she is actually in school, so she needs some table and private time, quiet time to be able to do her studies. So she's there, I'm here. That door right over there. That's my front door, so my husband might be coming in at any time. I did tell him that I'm doing a live, so I didn't tell him when, so he might just pop in and say hello, or he's very shy, so you might not, but you may see him, you may not. At some point, I might be doing videos with him. He's actually an assistant pastor, and he's a minister coach, and he actually counsels couples and individuals as well. I do coaching, he does the counseling piece. So we might be able to do something if I can get him on camera. He's very shy, but what he has to say it's very insightful. It's very insightful, and he comes from a spiritual aspect, and he really digs deep. I come from more of like a psychological aspect, so I think the both of us um, talking and answering questions and just diving into different subjects will be helpful, not only for you all, but for us as well. I think sometimes when I'm working and he's working and I get to hear his sermons, of course, I don't get to hear his um, when he's in his counseling sessions, but um, when he's talking, again, it's very powerful. So as I'm as time goes on and we're able to do something like together, I'll be able to hear from his point of view, and I'll be able to learn from that, and he'll be able to hear from my point of view, and he'll be able, he'll be able to listen from my point of view, and he'll be able to learn from that as well. So I hope that he comes on. We have talked about it a couple of times. He has been thinking about it, so I haven't brought it up again recently, but I will definitely ask him. So at some point, so he's actually a good resource to ask questions about, especially for my Christian couples. If you have questions for him. So again, I came on here to talk about sex. I have my notes. I'm very excited because I want to keep on track. I want to be able to really talk about the things that I wrote about and the things I think you might want to know about. So first of all, when I think about the topic of sex and I think about my couples, I get couples who come in and have difficulties talking to each other about the act, and also about any concerns that they have. I know it's interesting where two people can be very intimate, very exposed, but I think when it comes to issues and when I mean issues as far as what it is that they need to feel fulfilled and they enjoy the act, that sometimes they're not comfortable with talking to their other partner about it. And I get that. There's a difference with actually doing the act and then having a discussion about the act. There's a huge difference. And I think too, when you're talking about something where you don't feel that your needs are being met, there's a situation where the person on the receiving end may not hear what you're saying, that they may attach their self-worth to it, meaning that if you said, I would appreciate if you did A, B, and C a little more instead of C, D, and E, they may hear you're not doing a good job on A, B, and C, if you understand what I'm saying. So I kind of think that when you really get into that topic, when you really get into that situation, couples feel judged, and they don't feel comfortable talking about it. So having a person like me to help facilitate that, to help guide them, to be able to have those discussions, whether, in the office, well, I do Zoom, or the telephone, or just at home where they're comfortable. My job is to help them get strategies on how to approach the situation and how to fix the situation. Again, they're the experts of themselves, of their relationships. I'm just the facilitator, and I help. It's funny, I did a recording, I think a few days ago, and my husband saw it. I actually showed it to him. He says, you're so laid back, you're just so reserved. And I'm like, well, yeah, I feel very comfortable when I'm talking, and the way that I come across is the way on when I do my videos, it's actually the way that I come across in my sessions. So I'm not very hyper, but I can get, very excited about certain things. It's just, you want to keep kind of an even, what is that? Hold on. You want to kind of keep an even temper or even temperament for your clients, because if they're arguing, you don't want to incite it or infuse it with more fire and yeah, or or start yelling. You have discussions. I've always been very laid back, so sometimes you might see me dancing or whatever, depending on the situation. But if you can't tell, I'm very, very, very excited to be doing this live. So I hope to do a lot more, and I hope it will be interesting for you. So again, I'm very laid back, very chill, just very calm, and it's natural. It's just natural. It's just the way that I am. I'm just a very chill person. So I'm more of a introvert, extrovert. I can be at home and I'm just very quiet. But when I'm around people, you wouldn't even know, around the right people, you wouldn't even know that I'm introverted. It's interesting. I actually like to observe people, not where I am, about to get the cuffs on me, but just observing behaviors and observing the dynamics of relationships and couples. I just enjoy that. That's what I do. So I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing couples holding hands. I enjoy them working out. They're in the garden, they're walking, they're having tea and they're just chit-chatting, or they're just busy doing something, but they're together. Even though they're not communicating directly, their closeness is beautiful. And that connectedness that they have. It's beautiful. So I'm all about relationships. All about relationships. I love it. And I also, work with people who aren't in relationships, and that's okay too. So let me get back to it, because I'll keep going. Um, so what is this? Okay, sorry, I keep getting notifications about stuff, but anyway. So again, couples who have difficulty with talking about sex, even though they actually have sex. And I kind of explain that where it's tied to their self worth, um, where they think they're being judged. And someone like me can actually help them with working that out. Also, let's talk about who has sex. Let's talk about our teenage population. Well, I like that teenagers are at least getting information from PE class when they have like sex ed. I like that even though it might be embarrassing to them, that they're actually getting helpful information, and it might start a conversation for them to discuss it with their parents. And or even like their doctors or what have you. So I like where they learn a lot from sex ed. I know my daughter, she's actually in 10th grade now. She learned a lot about it. So it was very interesting when she came home. We've actually had discussions about it, and she had questions. And it was very helpful for the both of us, because I like that what they're learning, they're actually keeping that information. You know, they're applying it to their lives. And I remember, I was young. Like, I wasn't young, but my kids, my son, my niece, my nephew, they're actually all in their 20s now. But I can remember having those conversations with them. Like on a car ride, I take them to the Basketball Hall of Fame, or aquarium, or wherever auntie was going or mommy was going that day with the kids. I'd have conversations with them about sex, about the responsibilities of sex, and how it's not just a physical act, which I'll get into. I remember for myself not having that conversation with my mother, and she was born in the 50s, which is understandable. Back then, you really didn't talk about having sex. And I can remember having a conversation where I had just gotten my period. And I remember my mother was making the bed, and her back was turned towards me. And she had called me in the room, in her bedroom. And so I walk in the bedroom, and she's like, because you just started your period, that you can have sex. No, not you can have sex, that you can get pregnant. So I said, just like that. And then I said yes, because, we know we didn't answer to our parents that way, but I think I was just more shocked in the beginning, where that conversation would come up. And actually didn't understand, but I just said I did so I could get out of the room. But that was her way of letting me know that there are certain things that could happen, or certain responsibilities that go along with going through puberty. So I think for me, it was helpful at the time, because I still didn't understand and I wanted to get more information about it. And I figured that as a kid, that when I had my own kids, that I would actually have more in-depth conversation with them, because it's the changing of times and generational um, differences, and it's just something. It's not that it's better or it's worse. It's just what I wanted to do for my kids, and I did, and I actually did it for my daughter as well, and she was very um, embarrassed at first, and this was actually before she was in class for like sex ed, before she heard about that we had conversations, and then when she had sex ed, then she had more questions, but it wasn't something that she wanted to ask the teacher in front of the class, so she would come home and she would ask me. So again, sex ed in school, I think it's helpful in that aspect where the kids aren't learning from other kids and being told nonsense. Like, for example, when I was growing up, there was this rumor that was going around that was, what was it? That if you were a virgin, if you were a virgin and you had sex for the first time, that you couldn't get pregnant. As a kid, I'm like, what? I don't even understand that. But as an adult, I'm just like, that's just foolishness. It's foolish. It's foolish. If that was the case, there wouldn't be young people procreating at such a young age. So I just thought that was something that was really funny and ridiculous at the same time, and hopefully that is no longer a thing. Young people, if you're listening, that is not a thing. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. Or any other nonsense that sounds suspect, just do your research. Don't take advice from your friends if it sounds, well, no, don't take advice from your friends. If you do get the information, go do your research. We got Google. We got Google. You can get the information from Google. So I don't know. I'd rather that you actually go to like an adult, or talk to your doctor, or even call the nurse. And, if you have questions about that, because it is something that you would need to know at some point. All right. So let's see. I did talk about partners and significant others who have issues with having discussions about it. And be married, unmarried, gay, straight. People have issues with talking about sex. I know for my husband, who was born in Nigeria and he grew up there, they definitely didn't talk about something like that. It's not to say it wasn't done. They just didn't talk about something like that. That wasn't a conversation that you had with your parents. It just wasn't, I would say, let's see, still going on my notes. When does it usually happen? According to, I did some research, it's usually, the start is between 15 to 19 years old. The peak time, like prime time for men and women, the women is 27 to 45 years of age, and men 20 up until 35. And I believe I read their sexual appetite or desire decreases 1% a year, I think. But overall, I'd say from reading like different studies, it's really more about who the person is with and where they are in their life that really determines how healthy their sex life is. So if you're really in a good relationship and, you're doing well financially and you overall have, a happy life and you really enjoy your partner, you'll have sex more. You just will. You'll have sex more, and or you do something else that's like an intimate act, whether holding hands or just spending time together, um, just to maintain those meaningful connections. Also, the elderly, so 50 through 80, actually still have a good sex life. I've heard stories about nursing homes having issues with elderly people just having sex with each other. Whatever. More power to them, okay? I'm not even talking about infidelity. I'm just talking about in general having a healthy appetite, just a healthy sex life. So, I probably get into infidelity on another video. That's totally separate. So where does it typically happen? It's usually at home, but it's not necessarily in the bedroom or the boudoir, whatever you want to call it. So with that, I would suggest that just make sure you fix up when you're done, if it's not in your room. So, why do we have sex? So, we're sexual beings. We do it for stress relief. We do it for enjoyment, for pleasure. We do it to create life. Thanks to the Almighty. Give praises. And we do it to maintain a connection with our partner. So I want to talk about the responsibilities surrounding sex. So it's just not a physical act or physical need. Before having sex, you should decide the reasons why you're having sex. So if it's for enjoyment, fine. If it's for procreation, that's fine too. I would suggest if it's for enjoyment, having a discussion about protecting yourself, so birth control. It's also you're entering into someone else's space. We have this invisible force field around us, this energy field, and having someone into our space and sharing that space, it's very personal. So it has to be mutually agreed upon that this person will be able to enter into your space. So we actually do it every day. If we give each other a hug or a kiss, or even if we're on the train or the bus and it's crowded, or if you're at